My wife became HOA president and started fining me for everything while we were separated. I said, "Two can play." Then I ran against her with our divorce documents as my campaign material. When the entire neighborhood learned why she'd really been original post. I, 46 male, am dealing with the pettiest person on earth, and she happens to be my soon-to-be ex-wife, Melissa, 44. We've been separated for 8 months, heading toward divorce. I still live in our house while she moved into her mother's condo 3 streets over in the same neighborhood. The separation was her idea. Said she needed to find herself after 19 years of marriage. Translation: she'd been having an emotional affair with some guy she met at her book club. But that's not even the main issue here. 3 months ago, Melissa ran for HOA president. Our neighborhood association was having elections, and she campaigned hard, promised to clean up the community and enforce standards that have been ignored too long. She won by 12 votes. First week in office, I get a violation notice. My trash cans were visible from the street, $50 fine. They'd been in the same spot for 8 years. Next week, grass was 4.5 inches instead of the maximum 4 inches, $75 fine. Week after, car parked facing the wrong direction in my own driveway, $100 fine. She was using her position to harass me. The HOA charter gives the president broad discretion on violations, and she was exercising every bit of it. Against me specifically. I tried reasoning with her via text. Me, Melissa, this is ridiculous. You're fining me for things nobody cared about before. Her, I'm simply enforcing the CC&Rs. If you maintained your property properly, there wouldn't be issues. My car was in my own driveway, facing the wrong direction, which violates section 4.3.2. Rules are rules, Thomas. In 2 months, she'd hit me with $1,400 in fines. I knew she was trying to force me out of the house before the divorce settlement, make it so expensive and miserable that I'd just leave. Then I learned something interesting. Our HOA elections happen every year. The next one was in 6 weeks. And any homeowner in good standing can run. I was definitely a homeowner, and after paying those ridiculous fines to avoid liens, I was technically in good standing. Time to play her game. Update 1, 2 weeks later. Started my campaign for HOA president this week, but not just any campaign. I decided to go nuclear with transparency. My first campaign flyer delivered to all 186 homes in our neighborhood. Hi, I'm Thomas Morrison, your neighbor at Redacted. I'm running for HOA president because I believe in fairness and transparency. Did you know that in the last 2 months alone, certain homeowners have been fined over $1,400 for minor infractions that were never enforced before? Did you know the current president has personal connections to these targeted enforcements? I'll share the full story at the community meeting this Thursday. Melissa called me within an hour, screaming, "What the hell are you doing? Running for HOA president, it's my right as a homeowner. You're trying to humiliate me. I'm trying to stop the harassment. You fined me $1,400 in 8 weeks because you keep violating rules. Rules you never enforced until you took office. Rules you don't enforce on anyone else." She hung up. Thursday's meeting was beautiful. About 60 neighbors showed up, way more than usual. I came prepared with documentation. Every fine I'd received, with photos. Historical enforcement data showing these violations were never fined before. A spreadsheet showing I was the only homeowner fined for these specific violations. Public records showing Melissa had moved out months ago, but was still using her presidential authority against the home she no longer lived in. But I saved the best part for last. I want to be transparent with everyone, I said, holding up a folder. The current president and I are in divorce proceedings. She moved out 8 months ago. These fines started exactly 1 week after she took office. You can draw your own conclusions about whether this is coincidental or targeted harassment. The room erupted. People were pissed. Not at me, at her. Gerald, an 82-year-old retiree from 2 doors down. So she's using HOA funds and authority for a personal vendetta? Janet from the cul-de-sac. I got fined last month for my garden gnome being unapproved decoration. She approved it herself last year when she was just a board member. More people shared stories. Apparently, I wasn't the only target, just the biggest one. She'd been selectively enforcing rules against people she didn't like. Melissa stood up, face red. These are all legitimate violations. I'm simply doing the job you elected me to do. Then, why, I asked calmly, did you approve a variance for your mother's identical trash can placement last week? Dead silence. Her mother lived 3 streets over, same HOA. I had the variance documentation. Update 2. 1 week before election. The gloves came off after that meeting. Melissa went full scorched earth. First, she tried to disqualify me from running. Claimed I wasn't in good standing because I had pending investigations for new violations. Violations she'd just invented. Mailbox was wrong shade of black. $200. Outdoor light fixture was not architecturally harmonious. $150. Tree branches extending over sidewalk, they were 10 feet up. $300. I paid them all immediately, keeping receipts. Total now, $2,050 in 3 months. Then came the smear campaign. She sent out her own flyers. Do you want an angry, vindictive man running your HOA? Thomas Morrison is running out of spite. He has a history of not maintaining his property. He's confrontational and unstable. Keep our community peaceful. Re-elect Melissa Morrison. Yeah, she still used my last name on her campaign materials. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. But here's where Melissa screwed up. She'd been so focused on attacking me that she forgot about the actual election rules. Our HOA charter requires candidates to disclose any conflicts of interest or pending legal matters that could affect their ability to serve. She didn't disclose our divorce. I did. My next flyer was simple. Full disclosure. As I've mentioned, Melissa and I are in divorce proceedings. Here's what she hasn't told you. She initiated the divorce after beginning a relationship with another man. She moved out but continues to use HOA authority over the marital home. She has issued $2,050 in fines against me since taking office. She has approved variances for her family while denying them for others. Our divorce includes allegations of financial misconduct. I believe in transparency. Ask yourself, why hasn't she mentioned any of this? I attached public divorce filings with the relevant sections highlighted. Nothing sealed or private, all public record. The phone calls started immediately. Neighbors were furious. Not about the divorce, people get divorced. They were mad about the deception and abuse of power. Then the real bomb dropped. Janet, the lady with the garden gnome, did some digging. Turns out, Melissa had been using the HOA credit card for community expenses that were questionable. $400 landscape consultation at a spa, $600 board meeting dinners at restaurants. Board members confirmed they'd never attended these. $350 office supplies from a home decor store. Janet forwarded me the statements. I forwarded them to the entire neighborhood email list with one sentence: transparency matters. Update 3, election week. Melissa panicked. 3 days before the election, she called an emergency board meeting to try to pass new rules. 1. No campaigning materials could reference personal matters. 2. Candidates couldn't distribute materials without board approval. 3. The current president could extend their term during disputes. The board, 3 retirees who'd been basically rubber stamping everything, actually pushed back. Melissa, said Roger, the treasurer, this looks like you're trying to rig the election. I'm trying to maintain dignity and order, she shot back. By giving yourself veto power over campaign materials? Asked Dorothy, the secretary. That's not democratic. The measures failed 3-1. Melissa stormed out. That night, I found a note on my door. Withdraw or I'll make your life hell in the divorce. I photographed it and added it to my next flyer. Threats and intimidation have no place in our community. But Melissa's biggest mistake was yet to come. 2 days before the election, she sent an official HOA letter to every household. Using HOA letterhead and funds, she laid out a character assassination against me, called me an unfit homeowner, claimed I was mentally unstable, suggested I had anger management issues, implied I was dangerous to the community. She used HOA resources for a personal attack. That's not just unethical, it's illegal. Misuse of HOA funds for personal purposes is a breach of fiduciary duty. I didn't even need to respond. The neighbors were disgusted. Roger resigned from the board in protest. Dorothy called for an emergency ethics review. Gerald, my 82-year-old neighbor, summed it up perfectly at the mailbox. I've lived here 30 years. Never seen anything like this. She's lost her damn mind. Update 4, Election Day. The vote was scheduled for Saturday at the community center. Melissa showed up in a power suit, acting like she'd already won. She'd brought her mother and several friends from outside the neighborhood for support. I showed up in jeans and a polo, alone. But I wasn't really alone. I had about 40 neighbors who'd had enough of the nonsense. Melissa tried one last power play. As president, she said she'd oversee the vote counting. Actually, said Dorothy, who'd researched the bylaws extensively, that would be a conflict of interest. The secretary oversees elections, not the president. Melissa's face went purple. That's never been enforced before. Kind of like those violations you suddenly started enforcing? Someone called out. The voting took 2 hours. Every homeowner got one vote, including me and Melissa. We had 186 homes and 143 showed up to vote, the highest turnout in HOA history. While Dorothy and 2 volunteers counted votes, Melissa tried to work the room, making promises about new amenities and reduced fees. People were polite but cold. She'd burned too many bridges. The results: Thomas Morrison, 19 votes, and Melissa Morrison, 24 votes. A landslide. Melissa demanded a recount. Dorothy obliged. Same results. Then Melissa played her last card. This election is invalid. He's not even going to live here after the divorce. He's planning to sell. I stood up. Actually, the divorce settlement isn't finalized. And according to my lawyer, the house is likely to be awarded to me since you voluntarily vacated and established residence elsewhere. But even if I were to sell eventually, I'm a current homeowner in good standing, which is all that's required. The room was silent. Melissa grabbed her purse and started to leave. "Oh, Melissa," I called out. "As my first act as president-elect, I'm ordering a full audit of HOA finances. Just for transparency, you understand." She slammed the door so hard the windows shook. Update 5, 1 week post-election. The audit revealed exactly what I expected and more. $3,200 in questionable expenses over 3 months. Selective enforcement resulting in $8,500 in fines, 70% from just 5 households. Unapproved bonuses to herself for exceptional service. A contract with a landscaping company owned by her new boyfriend. Conflict of interest. The HOA board voted unanimously to 1. Reverse all fines issued in the last 3 months. 2. Demand repayment of unauthorized expenses. 3. File a claim with our insurance for breach of fiduciary duty. 4. Ban Melissa from holding any HOA position for 10 years. But the best part? Our divorce judge was very interested in this information. See, Melissa had been claiming she needed alimony because she couldn't work due to stress from the divorce. But she'd been president of the HOA, running meetings, managing contractors, and running a campaign, clearly capable of working. She'd also hidden the HOA president's stipend, $200 per month, from her financial disclosures. And those questionable HOA expenses? Some coincided with dates she claimed to have no money for necessities. My lawyer had a field day. The judge was not amused. "Mrs. Morrison," the judge said at our next hearing, "you've been using an HOA presidency to harass your ex-husband, misappropriate funds, and hide assets. This does not speak well to your credibility or character." The settlement that followed was beautiful. I got the house, she'd abandoned it anyway. No alimony, she'd proven she could work. She had to pay back $3,200 to the HOA. She got hit with $5,000 in sanctions for financial misconduct. She had to pay my legal fees for the hearings related to her HOA abuse. But wait, there's more. Update 6. 1 month later. Melissa tried to salvage her reputation by spreading rumors that I'd manipulated the election. She posted on the neighborhood Facebook group, which she'd been banned from, but used a fake account, claiming I'd bribed neighbors and fabricated evidence. The neighbors weren't having it. Janet posted the actual HOA financial records. Gerald posted the copies of my fines versus everyone else's. Dorothy posted the meeting minutes where Melissa had tried to rig the election. Then something unexpected happened. Melissa's boyfriend, the one with the landscaping company, dumped her. Turns out, he didn't know about the financial misconduct. When the HOA canceled his contract and word got out about the investigation, he lost 3 other neighborhood contracts. He threatened to sue her for damaging his business reputation. Melissa's mother, Loretta, knocked on my door one evening. "Thomas, I'm sorry about all this." "Not your fault, Loretta." I tried to tell her to stop. The fines, the campaign, all of it. She wouldn't listen. She was so angry about the divorce, about you not fighting for her when she left. She left me for another man. I know, that book club guy, who also dumped her, by the way, when this all became public. Turns out his wife didn't know about the emotional affair. So the guy she'd left me for was also gone. The landscaper boyfriend was gone. The HOA presidency was gone. The house was gone. The alimony was gone. All because she couldn't resist using her tiny bit of power for petty revenge. Final update. It's been 3 months since I became HOA president. Here's where everyone stands. I've reversed all of Melissa's arbitrary rules and selective enforcements. No more fines for trash cans visible from the street or grass being a 1/4 inch too long. We focus on actual issues that affect property values and neighbor relations. The HOA finances are healthier than ever. We recovered the $3,200 from Melissa, had to garnish her wages, but we got it. We're actually reducing fees next year. First time in a decade. Melissa had to move out of her mother's condo when Loretta sold it to downsize. Last I heard, she's renting a 1-bedroom apartment 40 minutes away. Still single. Still bitter. Still posting vague Facebook quotes about rising from the ashes and karma will handle it. She tried one last pathetic move, reported me to the IRS for not declaring the returned HOA fines as income. The IRS agent actually laughed when I showed him the documentation. Returning illegally collected fines isn't taxable income. They warned her about filing false reports. The divorce is final. I got the house worth $420,000, my full 401k, no alimony obligations, her having to pay $5,000 in sanctions plus $8,000 in legal fees. She got her car, her personal belongings, 30% of the marriage savings. Judge said her misconduct warranted unequal distribution. A reputation in ruins. The neighbors still talk about it. The Great HOA War of 2024, they call it. I've become something of a local legend. The guy who beat his ex-wife at her own petty game. Roger, who came back to the board after Melissa left, said it best. She weaponized the HOA for personal revenge and ended up destroying herself. It's almost Shakespearean. Janet started a newsletter called HOA Transparency Times, where she publishes all financial records and decisions. We've never had more community engagement. Gerald, my elderly neighbor, still chuckles every time he sees me. She fined you for grass height and ended up losing everything. That's karma with compound interest. I'm dating now. Met a nice woman named Carol at a community barbecue I organized, with HOA funds, properly documented and voted on. She laughed when neighbors told her the story. So you're the guy who turned HOA bylaws into a weapon of mass destruction? Technically, I just enforced transparency and ethical standards. And destroyed your ex-wife in the process. That was just a fortunate side effect. We've been together 2 months. She thinks the whole story is hilarious, especially the part where Melissa tried to extend her own term mid-election. Last week I got a letter from Melissa's lawyer. She wants to sue me for intentional infliction of emotional distress related to the HOA election. My lawyer responded with one sentence. Please proceed. We look forward to discovery. Haven't heard back. The house is peaceful now. No more vindictive fines, no more petty harassment. Just me, living in the home I paid for, running an HOA that actually serves its community instead of personal vendettas. Melissa wanted to use her position to make my life hell. Instead, she gave me the ammunition to defend myself and expose her for what she really was. She forgot the golden rule of revenge. When you seek to destroy someone, make sure they can't destroy you back. I didn't set out to ruin her life. I just wanted the harassment to stop. But when she escalated, I responded with facts, transparency, and her own tactics turned against her. She wrote the rules of engagement when she weaponized the HOA. I just played by them better. The moral of the story? Don't elect your bitter ex to a position of power over your property. And if she gets elected anyway, make sure you keep every receipt, document every violation, and remember that public records are public for a reason. Also, always read the bylaws. You'd be amazed what power they contain when used correctly. Oh, and one last thing. The new landscaping company I hired as HOA president, they're excellent, very professional, and they have no connection whatsoever to anyone's ex-boyfriend. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Edit, since people keep asking, yes, this is all real. Yes, I have all the documentation. No, I don't regret anything. She started a war using HOA fines as weapons. I finished it using transparency and democracy. That's not revenge. That's justice. Edit 2. For those saying I went too far, she tried to financially destroy me with bogus fines, steal HOA funds, and rig an election. I used public records and legal procedures to stop her. If that's too far, then I guess I'm guilty. Edit 3. Melissa, if you're reading this, and I know someone will send it to you, that offer to audit your personal finances during discovery still stands. My lawyer is very thorough, very, very thorough.